Hello and welcome to the 2024 Axcess Tax Refresher. My name is John Beck with Wolters Kluwer. Today we're going to cover an agenda of creating a refresher for you to lean upon to help with your learning that you may have done within e-learning packages and or practicing with the system. We're going to talk about getting started, all right, in Return Manager, then inside tax returns, reviewing returns, and all along the way, we're going to talk about help as well. So we will take a look at Return Manager first, logging into Axcess Tax. Okay, I like to bring this about with regard to, really, what do you have to know about Return Manager? And Return Manager has a search by client name or ID. And if I want to bring up all of the Jake and Jane Able tax returns that I've prepared, I can look for those. See a lot of different tax years there. I can filter that down to just a couple of years if I'd like. Okay. If I'm not searching for a particular return, I am able to filter by return type if I only want my partnerships to appear. So the software works really the way software should work, in that it will sort in ascending or descending order for every column header. Okay, and then we have the capability to search by name or the ID, and then we have the ability to save those views as well. So if you're going in and looking at the same exact search each time, well, you've got a view to save that, or a capability to save that as well. In just a moment, I'll discuss these user options. At this point, we're going to jump into the John Smith tax return. And the John Smith tax returns opens up. We are a double click to access tax returns from Return Manager. If you're brand new to the system, the program will default to this screen. In order to change it, if you'd like, to default to the navigation panel as opposed to the Worksheets list, we would need to go back to our Return Manager module, which houses the user options. Underneath the application button in the upper left, user options. Underneath tax and miscellaneous, that box is checked by default, just due to the way a lot of folks use our program. However, a lot of folks that don't want to look at that worksheet list. So we remove that. And you can always get to that view, right? But we're going to remove that, and then we can click OK. We'll go back to the tax return. All right. And the next time we open a return, it'll open this way, not with the forms list. First thing I'd like to draw your attention to is when you first come in, the Quick Access toolbar, which I've added a couple of buttons to. I went over to the back button and right-clicked and added it to my Quick Access toolbar. I might use the forward button as well, add it to the Quick Access toolbar. And it just puts that little button up there on the far right-hand side. What we want to do is move that to be beneath the ribbon. This is a true Microsoft Windows module. This is where the Quick Access toolbar is stored in any Windows program. We're going to show that below the ribbon with that little icon. Let me try that one more time. With that little icon, I got to double click the title bar there. Drag that over. Make it fit all in one on the screen here. And then we're going to grab that little icon. We're going to show it below the ribbon. Then if I save that, it will save. And the next time I come in, that will be below the ribbon. If I get out and don't save changes, then that will not stick. All right, so let's talk about saving for a moment. Control S works to save. The diskette icon, right here where the pointing at the far left-hand side of the screen on that little toolbar. That will control us as a hard save to the server. The module also auto saves every 2 minutes. But the auto save doesn't automatically save when we get out. When we get out of the file, it's going to ask if we want to save our changes, and we're going to want to say yes, or we're going to lose them all. It's a true Windows module, works like any of the other ones do, except for the fact that this auto save is a 2-minute interval. 2-minute interval. Okay, now we're going to look at the screen layout. We have our tax return ID, the return ID up at the top, 23 individual, and intro-1040 is my client ID. Then I've got John Smith, the name of the return, centered in the screen. If we remove that, or we move this toolbar down, that'll allow that to stay in the center. Otherwise, it will slowly but surely sneak its way across the screen and fall off the edge. That's another reason why we want to bring that toolbar down. All right, ribbon, the ribbon approach. So it's a true Office 2013 and forward design where we've got a ribbon approach and an application button. The application button allows us to print, allows us to save as. This program allows for up to 9 versions of the return to be saved. That's just like an Excel version. It's the same return. We just copy it into another version. You can roll those versions forward. You can delete those versions. You can put descriptions on those versions. Pretty nice capability. All right, now we'll move into the ribbon. My best practice approach here on learning this program would be to make sure you spend 5 minutes a day in the program. Don't go a day without spending 5 minutes a day in the program. And one of the things you could do during that time, just go ahead and read through those ribbons. Just read through that manage ribbon or that import export ribbon or the help ribbon. That allows you to see what's available. Okay, we're not going to go through every single option here, bore you to tears through that, but the review ribbon has your diagnostics and letters and federal elections and tick marks. Be nice to know where those things are. Slowly but surely, you'll eliminate that learning curve as you go. Search return. We have a search return button. I've used this for several things, but just a couple of examples. If I want to find out, how do I print labels in this program? This little search bar is more of a kind of a less is more. We don't want to type a sentence out there, but what we're searching for is input. It doesn't search for output, searches the input and the words in the input, the worksheet screens, the sections themselves. Okay, so I've got 3 places where I can go in order to process labels. If any of them are blue, like we have the blue coloring over here, it means there's data on them. Another, I just in a training session a couple of months ago with a firm from Kentucky, and they asked about the aircraft return. I had no idea there was such a thing. I typed in aircraft, and lo and behold, the aircraft assessments information pops up. So this has got many more hits for it. It's got 30 items there. Under the jurisdiction, I am able to find out, do I have federal, Colorado, Kentucky? What do I have out here? And for a lot of searches, you'll have all states and the federal entity, and you're able to just hone into one of them if you'd like. So the thing about that is that jurisdiction doesn't show when you're not in a specific state, when you're not selecting a particular jurisdiction. You just have to click on it and then it'll show it. We'll close out of there. Double clicking on one of those items would get you to that area, get you to that exact input mechanism to where you'll be able to input the information and then calculate the return. We have a system here that is a manually calculated program. Manually calculated. When I want results produced, I need to calculate the file in order to get the results produced. If you go into print or look at a letter, if you go into your diagnostics, we're going to tell you whether or not you've calculated. Okay, we're going to let you know that you have not, we don't tell you that you have. We stop you if you have not calculated. But it will allow you to go to the government form. Just jump right out to the government form without telling you that it hasn't been calculated. There we'd be looking at the calculation capability here. That is grayed out, meaning that the program's been calculated. My federal refund and state information up here, or refund or due, when that's illuminated, that green color or that black color, that means those are real numbers. It's been calculated. All right, those will gray out if I've changed data. Do you have to calculate after every data entry move? Absolutely not. You calculate when you want results produced. You don't have to save after every entry. You don't have to calc after every entry. All right. Now let's look at the concept of, let's say we don't know where the input is for the information that we want to find. Okay, and let's say that we need to fill out a form maybe we don't fill out that often, a 5329. Just a form that maybe we're not filling out all the time. We might not know exactly where that information comes from. So we can go to the 5329, go to a line number that we want data to come into from the input. And we're going to right click there, opposite click of the mouse. Well, if you're using the pointer or the mouse in the right hand, it's an opposite or right click of the mouse. We're going to go to link to worksheets. Link to worksheets, very important capability. Lots of fields have this capability. And then that pops up a dialog box allowing me to see what are the worksheets and the sections that have an effect on line 1 in this form. Either of these worksheets and the sections shown can have an effect there. If they're blue, it contains data. So this either came from a 1099-R, or maybe I didn't get the 1099-R and I just typed in the taxable distribution. Double clicking or clicking OK on one of those items is going to do a couple of things here. Okay, number one, it opens up a window. I just need to drag it into this monitor. It opens up a window showing me the input. Okay, so I can I can go to the input, and let's just say that that's supposed to be $222,000. When I calculate that, and I can press Control R is the function key for calculation, I can see that input and the output receiving that information. See the input at one point, and then I can see behind it, it's calculating into the form. That is the government to worksheet view link. We are left with a tab that shows the federal form and a window that shows the federal form's input. We can control the tab and the window with a right click of the mouse. Another, you are in a field-based Windows module. A very good idea to totally understand. You're going to be mousing through sometimes, but we can right click here and make that a tabbed document. Then I can see both of those tabs on the screen. I don't have to be looking at the dashboard. The dashboard shows the diagnostic components. It shows a return overview, 2-year comparison. There's a lot of information here, and I can turn that off with my, I can close it right here, and then I can turn it back on with the view in the dashboard. If you don't want that, you can just close it up. It's a very helpful feature just with the 1040s. Then I have 2 tabs, and I can close one of them. I can right click and close all but this one. Okay, I can look at them side by side on the screen if I'd like. New vertical tab group puts them side by side. If I get rid of my navigation panel over here, just minimize it. I'll take a look here. If I look at 100% the size of the form, then I can see the input and the output. If I don't want to look at that way anymore, I right click and just move to the next tab group is the Windows option to put them both in tabs. And I'll bring my navigation panel back. All right, now we're going to go to the worksheets. I'm going to go to the worksheets. I'm going to go to the actual federal form. I don't need that open anymore. I don't have to close it, but I'm going to close that one. And now I am going to navigate and just show you the steps to navigate utilizing the navigation panel and what the terminology. And if you take anything from this refresher session, take the fact that you need to understand what a category is, such as general or credits or foreign, what a worksheet is, such as electronic filing or two-year comparison, and what a section is, and a section for PDF attachments. So that's how I could navigate, intuitively navigate to PDF attachments, which then allow for instruction to be brought my way. If I just press F1, get into the instructions for the PDF file name, or I can double click and it'll allow me to go out to my device or search Access Document for that PDF file. Then I need to put a code in. I don't need to memorize codes. All the codes are available under a pick list. And if I need further help, I can press F1 to get away from the pick list and just to the help screen as to what I need. I can do that for any of the fields. Remembering F1 is field help. And we'll take a look at that in just a little bit. So now I'm going to navigate to tax exempt interest. We'll just explain a couple of things there. The journey that I'll take is the learning that I want you to understand. So I will go to income. That's a category, the category of income. Pretty simple here. The worksheet of interest allows me to get into the summary grid here of all the 1099 INTs that I have for interest. Then I have foreign account information for the return or exclusion of interest info. So I'm going to click on that 1099 INT, and that's going to present what we refer to as a summary grid. A summary grid. And this grid of information is accommodating what is converted into and or rolled forward into this tax return. I don't have the numbers in here yet, but I have the capability to see all those 1099 INTs. Now, our best practice at this stage, which is looking at the summary grid for ABC Company or First Bank or US Savings Bonds, is to go to the detail. The detail, if you're brand new to the program, the detail will allow you to see the source doc. There's my 1099 INT. Okay. And I've got $3,500 of tax exempt interest in here. It knows that I have tax exempt interest in box 8. Okay. These are the other sections down here that allow me to, well, not to have everything on one screen and to kind of separate it out. That allows me to see that the program is although the federal interest is tax exempt, the state is setting up as taxable. This is an area where I could change that from taxable to non-taxable. I also have the capability to put a code in, that allows me to, if I want to go ahead and maybe I want to build that Schedule B where it comes into the Schedule B, gets subtotaled, and then backed out. So I'd come down to my government forms, bottom left-hand corner, take a look at my Schedule B. I can see the 3,500 in there, subtotals, and then backed out with a statement that I can just click on to view. When you're looking at the government form, it really is a WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get, except we're not going to print blue font on your tax returns. So the print will all be black. The blue font here is just simply for an eye fatigue. Eye fatigue is a real thing in our business, and contrast is what kind of beats that eye fatigue. Now I'm going to go down to worksheets, and I'm going to reiterate here, remembering that we've got the interest information, and then we've got the category of income. The worksheet of interest shows me the section here of the summary grid. So we'll just go into a different one now. And if I want to go back to the summary, I've got a summary button right there. Okay, if I want to go back in, I can go to the detail, and just a couple more things. I can minimize the 1099 INT, go to my other section to see, well, this is how I would manipulate the entry for the roll forward or the organizer capability. If I have a foreign transaction, I've got all of the information here in order to be able to fill that out. The blue color indicates I've got data on those items that rolled forward from the prior year, very likely, or maybe would have been converted into the prior year and then rolled into the current year, depending on the tax program you used last year, if it was not this one. Thank you for listening to that. So now we're going to move to reviewing returns. Reviewing returns. So when we're reviewing returns, we're going to take a look. We're going to stay in the input right now. Okay? We're going to start with diagnostics. We're going to start with diagnostics. Diagnostics are laid out into 4 categories, of which I have 3 of those categories inside this return. The diagnostics refresh after each calculation. The diagnostics refresh after each calculation. Diagnostics will stay until you clear them. Do you have to clear all of them? Well, let's talk about that a little bit. So we have electronic filing diagnostics. There's 36 of them in this file. Electronic filing diagnostics would be followed by warning diagnostics. If you want to e-file the return, you must clear all of the electronic filing diagnostics and all of the warning diagnostics, which I don't have any here. Okay. And I'll show you how to clear them here in just a moment. The caution diagnostics really are up to the firm. However, these messages could result in a notice, in your client getting a notice. Should they be cleared? Really, it's up to you. Really, it's up to you. So in the caution diagnostics, as well as the informational, we have the sign-off capability. So if I want to sign off on that one, and I'm looking at all diags, as opposed to just the open ones, or just the signed off ones, that shows my user ID, date, and time. Checkbox, what's it for? Just to let the reviewer know that you looked at it. That's really what we were asked to produce there. And then those caution diagnostics, if we want to clear them, we click on that link right there, and it'll allow us to clear them out. Informational diagnostics, truly, folks, are FYI. We like what firms tell us they use the informational diagnostics for is to really hone in on the finishing the learning curve. You could read through these, and then once that information becomes or starts to be redundant, well, you're definitely accelerating the amount of time it takes to learn the software. This is just simply telling you where there is data present and we have an issue with it, or you're missing a dependent option for one of the children, something like that. We'll go back up to electronic filing diagnostics. And if I wanted to clear so we have a self-selected PIN issue. We've a couple of times we've got banking information that was entered but not confirmed. So I'll pick one of them and I'll click on it. And generally what I'd do is I'd have my diagnostics on one window and my tax return on another. And this is just simply going right to the field where it says check to confirm. Because if you don't check to confirm, we're going to give you that diagnostic. We really want you each and every year to take a look at that RTN, take a look at that DAN, so you've got a good routing number and a good depositor account number. So that is a little bit of a look at diagnostics. Those diagnostics will stay open until I close them. All right, I can always get to them here. They're also on the review ribbon right here. All right, that's part of the default toolbar. Okay, now we're going to take a little bit of a look at government form navigation. So when I click on the 1040, brings up page 1 and 2 of the 1040. And when I get done scrolling to the bottom of the page 2 of the 1040, well, here I'm at the bottom. It's not going to allow me to scroll through the rest of the return. I can go click on one of these forms and it'll go to that form. All right. I can use my navigation to go to the next form. That will page through the return if that's what I'm looking for. If I want to scroll through the entire return, I am able to move to the home ribbon. I can come down to print, and I'll move into entire return. We put something in here that I really like. I'm going to go ahead and show you. It's only been in here for about 2 years, I believe. Print statements behind forms. If I want to review the return, if you don't check that box, our statements are going to be at the very end of the return. So if we want them behind the forms, we can click the preview button down at the bottom. We wouldn't want to do that without calcing. So we'll go back out. I'll hit Control R on my keyboard, and then we'll reach back in. You can print. You know, if you know that the calculation is somewhere else, you definitely can produce the preview that I'm going to look for here after I click on Print Statements Behind Forms, and then I'll select Preview. But that's just kind of proof that I talked about earlier. If you haven't calculated, we're not gonna let you produce the return if in fact there's more work to be done. So let's come up to the 1040. We've got a statement reference for statement 2 there, statement 2 right below it. On the Schedule B, I've got a reference for statement 3 right below it in the bookmarking basically of that print preview. I can review returns a lot faster that way if I'm reviewing them in that fashion. When you're in the tax return and you have a statement on page 2, the statement will be a hyperlink for us to be able to click on to be able to see it. Or you can utilize the review ribbon where you would find statements, and then we'll show you all of the statements attached to the form you're viewing. And that is a refresher for the Axcess Tax program. Let's go ahead and get one more thing to share with you here. And if you need further training, we do have these trainings available. They're 2-hour sessions. You can contact your account executive if you're interested in any of those sessions. Thank you so much and have a great tax season.